One of my favorite sermons was based on a comic I saw in the New Yorker some years ago. The comic is a picture of, and this is not the comic that I sent out to you Saturday night, but this is one that I based a sermon on some years ago. The comic is a picture of a short, stubby man. Just picture this. A short, stubby man with a pencil-thin mustache standing by what looks like his hot dog cart, with an umbrella overhead. You know those carts, what they look like? But it's not a hot dog cart, because written on the front of the cart are the letters C-O-N-T-E-N-T. Now to yourself, how do you pronounce that? C-O-N-T-E-N-T. Well, it could be content, or it could be content. And so the sermon focused on being content with the content of our lives. And Judaism has a great deal to say about this. The rabbis say in the Talmud, Ezehu Ashir, who is the rich person, Hasameach Bechelko, the person who is happy, joyful, content with what they have. So I've remained a fan of the New Yorker comics, though none have inspired another sermon. Truth is, there's more to life than another sermon. So I hope. But then this summer, one particular comic is a sermon. It's a bit more complicated to describe, and that's the reason why I emailed it Saturday night, if you had a chance to look at it. But let me give a shot of describing it. There's a young guy, seemingly, I'll say in his 30s, who is sitting at a small table on which is also sitting a cup of coffee and a little bowl that I'll assume that it contained his cereal that morning. He's holding a cell phone right in front of his eyes, and he's looking at the cell phone. And a few feet away from him, a young woman is ensconced on the couch, and we'll assume that it's his wife. So the young man, still focused on his cell phone, says the following to his wife. And here's how the caption reads. He says, "I don't know, honey. I think this might just be the new app that provides us with a sense of community we've been pretending to crave." Now, if that's not a gem of a comment that incisively and insightfully captures our present situation. Listen to it again. "I don't know, honey. I think this might just be the new app that provides us with a sense of community we've been pretending to crave." He knows that community is good, but they're only pretending to crave it. It looks good to value community, and they're doing their best to fake it. They're pretending to want community, but at this point they're too far gone. He's excited to find the answer to their pretended aspiration. And how does he discover the answer to become part of a human community? It's an app. Of course it's an app. Everything is an app. Who needs real live people when you're perfectly fine with an app in front of your face and in your hands? And let me just say, I'm not throwing any stones, because I personally live in a very glass house, to quote Chaucer. Over the summer when I was writing this, my screen time kept rising from week to week. I even started composing the sermon on my iPhone because I had the idea and I just didn't want to I wanted to start putting down whatever I had in my head at that moment. And just yesterday I see a notification in the morning that my screen time went up 10% last week. So who am I to talk about this? This past year, around Purim time, I was planning a class on Jewish humor. So I wanted to find the best of my jokes, right? Best of my jokes. So where do I gather them? Where would I find them? I went through tens of High Holy Day sermons. And I came across a sermon that I knew was going to be part of this sermon. It actually has no jokes in it, but I knew it was going to be part of this sermon. And then I came across a joke that will forever remain a favorite. So ladies and gentlemen, one of my favorite jokes, if I may. So some years back I was working on a sermon on Seabiscuit. You know who Seabiscuit was? Of course. You read the book, you saw the movie, I did both. So I'm working on the sermon about this horse, Seabiscuit, and one evening I mentioned to Janie that I was in search of a joke about a horse. And I said, Janie, even better, I can't find anything, but even better would be a joke about a Jewish horse, or a Jewish joke about a horse, whatever we could find. So Janie went upstairs to her desk and computer, and in a matter of no time, she came back downstairs with a printout of a joke, a Jewish joke, about a horse or horses. So I read the joke to myself with great, oh my God, I got the joke, great anticipation. But when I finished, I regrettably said to Janie, I said, thanks, Janie, but it's just not funny. Janie said, it is funny. It's very funny. I said apologetically, it's not going to get any laughs. I just know it. Janie said, it's funny, and it'll get big laughs if you tell it right. So I told the joke. It was the lead of the entire Seabiscuit sermon. In front of all of you, believe me, I had no interest in being proven right. I took a deep breath and gave it my best shot. One day, a rabbi was walking on the street and a gust of wind blew off his shtreimel from his head. You know a shtreimel? It's like the big Hasidic round furry hat. The wind came, blew it off. And a young guy walking on the street, he ran to get the rabbi's hat and brought it back to him. The young man, it turns out, was not Jewish, but that didn't matter at all. The rabbi was so grateful to have his hat back, his shtreimel back, that he offered the young man a blessing of good fortune, and he took out and he gave him a $20 bill. Well, with the rabbi's blessing and at $20, the young man headed right to the racetrack. And he got to the track in time for the 5th race, and he sees a horse named Top Hat who's running 100 to 1. But he says, wait, it's all about a hat? Top Hat putting my money down? And believe it or not, Top Hat comes in first, 100 to 1. So with his big winnings, he looks over the horses in the next race and he sees Stetson running 30 to 1. And he puts all of his winnings on Stetson. And again, his horse comes in and his winnings even increase more and more. So the young man, when he gets home, he says to his dad, tells his dad all about what happened. And his dad said, so, did you bring all the winnings home? And he said, no, in the last race, I put it all on Chateau, who was the favorite. And since Chateau means hat in French, I put it all on him. But he lost. So the father responds, you fool! Hat in French is chapeau, not chateau. So who won the race? Oh, he said it was a really long shot, some Japanese horse named Yarmulke. That applause is for Janie. So exactly what just happened now happened that day. There was a roaring laughter, and I looked over at Janie, and I just went like this. Go no. Well, I couldn't help but tell this joke wrapped in a story about Janie on this Yizkor day. It brings back sweet, sweet, sweet memories. But to return to the cartoon, The Search for Community, and its discovery in an app, while I was looking through the sermons for a joke, I came upon one sermon that was typed on a typewriter. Your kids and grandchildren know what a typewriter is? Typed on a typewriter on yellowing pages, which begins with these words. I say, this is the third High Holy Day season that we celebrate together. The first in our own home, and in March at Purim we'll be celebrating our third anniversary since our founding. This was the one and only year that we celebrated High Holy Days in what is now called Founders Hall, and the following 3 years, we were in a tent outside. 1 year it was the year of the wind, 1 year was the year of the cold, 1 year was the year of the rain. And boy, you think this is rain? That was rain, huh? Yeah, I see some heads nodding. So when I said to the congregation, we now rise, they said, we can't. They were stuck. They were stuck in the mud. Yeah. So in the middle of the third page, I write, and here, if I can, with your permission, I quote myself. Remember, this is 1978. I say, there's an area of the synagogue that I speak about often and about which I feel particularly concerned. I use the term the synagogue family, our community, often. One of the greatest things our synagogue can accomplish is bringing people together. Thus, one of the terms of a synagogue is Beit Knesset, a house of gathering, to bring people together in friendship, to be a catalyst for the formation of real and rich relationships. And this has been an area of our synagogue's great success. So I said this again on the High Holy Days of 1978. It was hard for me to believe this when I read the following. I see in my notes of the sermon that in 1978, we just started in Purim of 1976. 1978, I see that we have 35 kids in our Bet class and 50 kids in our Aleph class. Wow, 2.5 years. That is pretty amazing. So I want to share with you a seminal article that appeared in the Atlantic Journal in July with a long title, The Misunderstood Reason Millions of Americans Stopped Going to Church. Well, it doesn't say stop going to synagogue, but we are part of the American religious scene. The author writes, the defining problem driving people out is just how American life works in the 21st century. Participation in a religious community generally correlates with, did you know this? Listen, generally correlates with better health, outcomes, and longer life. Come to shul, you'll live longer. How's that? Higher financial generosity and more stable families, all of which are desperately needed in a nation with rising rates of loneliness, mental illness, and alcohol and drug dependency. But, he goes on to write, contemporary America simply isn't set up to promote mutuality, care, or common life. Rather, it is designed to maximize individual accomplishment defined by professional and financial success. Such a system leaves precious little time or energy for forms of community that don't contribute to our own professional life. Workism reigns in America. And because of it, community in America, religious community included, is a math problem that doesn't add up. Perhaps we find a better balance for our lives. So, just the other day, it was Thursday I was celebrating my birthday. Thank you very much. Celebrating my birthday. And I see that I get a text from a colleague that we were in rabbinical school together. He was 2 years ahead of me, so I looked up to him with much respect. Really a fine rabbi. So he sends me a text. He says, Elliot, I remember a sermon you wrote like 15 years ago. He said it was all about time and how we use our time and how we whatever. He said, if you could find the sermon and send it to me, I'd really appreciate it. And what I thought first of, which I did not write back to him, was really, Yom Kippur is Sunday night, you need a sermon now? Really? So anyhow, so I go looking for the sermon. And what I find in looking for the sermon is not another joke, but I find a sermon that begins like this. It says, this year, our synagogue is celebrating our 25th anniversary. What I invite us to focus on the most this coming year and in years ahead is our becoming more and more of a caring community at Ohev Shalom. Now, 22 years, in other words, now, 22 years after that sermon and 45 years after the first sermon that I referenced, I still feel exactly the same way. Exactly the same way. And we can still build an even stronger sense of community. We've got it, but we can build an even stronger sense of community here at Ohev Shalom. You know, visitors often comment, they come for a simcha, whatever it is, on how warm and Hamish they find our synagogue. Oftentimes, people who visit will say something like this, Rabbi, if I lived any closer, I would join the synagogue. But I'm in Massachusetts, I'm in Texas, I'm on the West Coast, I'm in Florida. They're always far enough away that, but I like to compliment anyway. They comment on our warmth and our Hamish feeling, because they can see and feel within our service the connection we have as a community. They can feel it. And we can still create yet a warmer sense of community. You know, one of the holiest moments of the service, not that I'm encouraging it right now, but one of the holiest moments of the service is when you're all chatting with each other, when the Torah is going around. You make sure that when the Torah is near you, you kiss the Torah. But when the Torah is not so close, you know, it's like a family reunion. We're all talking to each other. It's beautiful. It's what community is. You know, we love to see each other, reconnect. How's it been going? What's news? You know, I heard you had a great simcha. I'm so happy for you. And there's no question to me that along with Martin Buber, that I deeply believe that God's presence is found within the context of a true and real relationship, whether it's between two individuals or within the context of a community. I've said this before, but let me say it again. One of my favorite parts of these high holy days is simply and sublimely just looking out and seeing you. Yeah, this is it. You know, it doesn't get any better than this. Yeah. You are an unmatched, beautiful sight. I look out and I see so many with whom I've shared a rich history. I've shared with you some of your life's happiest and saddest passages over the years. And then I love seeing new people of all ages becoming part of our warm and Hamish community. I know how much their lives will be enhanced and enriched. And I am saddened, truly, each time we lose a member of our community for whatever reason or circumstance they leave us. And now, I am the one who is leaving. And so many of you have said, Rabbi, I'm happy for you, but I feel sad, and I am sad for us. That's what I hear. And often this is followed by, so I hear you're moving to Israel. No, I'm not moving to Israel. No plans, not moving to Israel. 20 years ago, Janie and I bought an apartment in Jerusalem. We had long-term plans for that apartment. It was great in the beginning, but the real plans never eventuated. But at this point, I would like to spend more time, hopefully, in Israel than I've been able to have in the past years, but there's no question that my home remains here in Ivyland, in Richborough, and I plan to remain a part of this community, which I love and will always love so dearly and so deeply. I am stepping down from the Bima, but I am absolutely not leaving this community. conversation I had last Kol Nidre evening, last year. A member of the congregation, a long, long time member of the congregation who I cherish so deeply, said to me after the Kol Nidre service, we happened to be standing right down there in front of the Cantor's lectern, and we were chatting. And she said, of course, when you leave, we're leaving too. And I believe that she meant it as a sort of a compliment. But I immediately felt really a deep sadness. And it precipitated really a very open, frank, and I hope fruitful conversation. Someone said something so very similar recently. We had a bit of more time to talk. She said to me basically the same thing. And as I said, we had time to talk. And then she was in touch with me about a week later. She saw my sadness when she said it to me. And about a week later, she said, we're not going anyplace. We're not going anyplace. I say the same thing. I'm not going anyplace. If anything, I will have more time to maintain and grow relationships. You know, when people say to me, I hear you're retiring, what are you going to do? So, many rabbis, if not most rabbis, say, I'm going to write the book I always wanted to write. None of them write the book. But, you got to say something that sounds good. I'm going to write the book. So, I have a number of things, but actually, here was my fantasizing this past week. So Janie gave me a guitar some years ago, and I tried to learn how to play it myself, but I didn't. It hurts your fingers, doesn't it? How do you deal with that? Anyhow, so I didn't really get it, and so I'm going to take lessons on playing the guitar. But you say to somebody, I'm going to go over to Richborough Music Store, I'm going to learn how to play the guitar. It doesn't sound like after a rabbinic career, I'm going to learn how to play the guitar. Really? That's what you're doing? That's why you're leaving? You play the guitar? And then I said to myself, if I get good enough at the guitar and I can play some of the great songs like Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Then I could go to the cantor and I could say, Annalise, would it be okay if I go into a Sunday school class and play the guitar and sing some songs with the kids? That's my dream right now. That's what I want to do. That's my hope for the future. Well, to come full circle, I continue to crave community, and there's no pretending to it. And I know there is no app that can provide me or any of us a sense of community, and nothing in the world can provide me a sense of community like our community here at Ohev Shalom. So I am leaving the Bima to fulfill a lifelong dream, to be like all of you, a Jew in the pew. Who knows? Maybe we'll meet on the streets of Jerusalem, but in ways even sweeter, I hope to meet right here in Ohev Shalom for years and years yet to come. Amen. Well, thank you. And now for my encore. I have 4 more pages. Thank you. Thank you. I always like to take a moment to offer thanks for those who made these High Holy Days really happen. Don't go away. I know I have it here someplace. Ha 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 ha. Wouldn't it be something if I... Okay. So, just a list of thank yous. First of all, I thank my colleagues here at Ohev Shalom. Most of all, I thank Cantor Ocanto Romo, who just walked out. It has been an absolute blessing to share this bima and to work together as co-clergy with Cantor Ocanto Romo, with Annalise, and it's been just a gift. Michael Cantor is everything that you said that she is, and you hit it on the head. I want to thank our executive director, Barbara Glickman, who was our educational director for a number of years, and now our executive director, and my thanks to Barbara, wherever Barbara is floating around right now. And I want to thank our assistant, account assistant, Elizabeth Gallagher. So in addition to Cantor, I want to thank Danny Yu as our choir co-leader together with the Cantor and each and every member of the choir. I don't know how you folks do it, but you sound more and more beautiful every year. Really, it's just right. And now with the Rishon choir and the trios and the quartets. I want to thank Mark Kolber and Al Torsman, who really spend hours and hours and hours here. Talk about volunteerism, Michael. I mean, you walk in here any day, and the chances are you'll see either Al or Michael or Al or Mark or both of them working on the synagogue. I want to thank Michael Zimmett, who, as a volunteer, works on our security. Michael was right over here. Here's Barbara over here. Michael, can you just raise your hand so we can all see you? Michael is tremendously committed to our security. I think it's fair to say that there is maybe no synagogue or church that has the level of security that Ohev Shalom has. Michael dedicates hours and hours, and when he sees a crack in it, he just wants to fill that immediately. So, Michael, we are indebted to you. Our thanks to you. I want to thank our Balei Shacharit, Michael Zimmett again, and Bob Davidson, our Torah readers and our Haftarah chanters, our Baalei Tekiah, Sam Heller, Jeremy Linson, Evan Glickman, who came in from Penn State, and Ariel Birnbaum, preparing the memorial boards for the holidays, Sharon, and throughout the entire year, Sharon Lustig, Scott Gordon and Craig Cernitsky and others who served as ushers during the High Holy Days, silver polishing, Sonny Feld. Sonny, I saw you, there you are, and Jerry Kaplan, our thanks to both of you. Talitot, getting the talitot and everything that's white cleaned for the holidays. Gail Wiener. Gail, I saw you. Here you are over here. Our thanks to you, Gail. And Gail, you used this place for the first time this year, right? So let me point them out to you. Rosemore Cleaners and Tailors. You know where the Rosemore Shopping Center is on County Line Road? It's on the other side of 263, isn't it? Between 263 and 611. Let me tell you, they're a little store. I took some stuff in there. They're great. He's a lovely, lovely person. So we can say thanks to him by bringing him some business. Rosemore Cleaners and Tailors. For the breakfast, I want to thank our sisterhood. For the men's club, I want to thank beginning to put up the sukkah on Thursday, but knowing that the rain was coming, left it to continue on Tuesday, I think it is. Our thanks to Northampton Police Department, Cardinal Point, and a number of dedicated men who are with us throughout the years, but I want to especially mention Carmen Vuoto, who was with us so much during the year. Our parking assistants, John Meyer, and our ProCare facility, Vanessa Hennessy, who does all the work under Barbara's leadership of getting the room, getting everything set for everything that goes on here at Ohev Shalom. So my thanks to everyone that I mentioned, but my greatest thanks of all is surely to all of you, all of you, really, because you are individually and together what makes Ohev Shalom, Ohev Shalom. Many of you are part of our past, part of our present, And my hope and prayer is that we will all be part of our future. So with that, we're going to turn now to the Musaf for Yom Kippur. We're aiming for Yizkor at 1:15. Whether we'll make it exactly on time is Farshad Namainsa, another story, but we'll do our best. We're going to turn to the Chazan's prayer. Page 608.